I have to start the show.
Okay. All right, Joe. Welcome, everybody.
Great.
Smile. All right. Roll call, please, Joe.
Ms. Cimaroli?
Here.
Mr. Tolmer? Here. Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Ms. Giuliani?
Here.
Ms. Belfer? And I'm Joe Cowell.
All right, so do we have anybody signed up for public comments?
Yes, there's two gentlemen.
Two gentlemen. Okay, who's first?
Pat.
Okay, Pat, please.
Oh,
Name and address, please.
Pasquale de Blasio, 147 Washington Avenue, Bridgeville. And this was not my expectation. My expectation was not to come down here and what's going on, or be told that this is a private meeting. So I'm going to use this opportunity to encourage the Planning Commission and the municipal government to be a little bit more open and transparent, okay? I'm going to encourage you to not just follow the letter of the Sunshine Law, but follow its spirit as well. No reason that if somebody's around that they can't quietly come in and listen to what's going on in a steering committee. You're not just developing nuclear secrets. A little bit of openness wouldn't have hurt or harmed anyone, okay? By escalating it to trying to say, well, this is private, go out, you create
Okay.
the very objections that you saw.
I apologize.
And I also apologize. I did not come down here to break into a private meeting. Okay?
All right.
So, having said that, we've got a lot of wonderful things that we've got to deal with in this town, which was what I really wanted to come back and talk about, namely, that there are some large projects that I am curious if our community wants to look at and do. Okay? At the last Planning Commission meeting that I had the opportunity to attend, there was a great deal of focus on some small lots, some things, all very important. Beautification of our town, those kinds of things are very important. But there are also bigger projects. Some of them are part of the comprehensive plan, but other ones stand on their own. Do you want me to name? Let me name one, okay? Baldwin Street, Bower Hill Road, corridor, Painters Run Road to the Port Authority Bus Garage, okay? There's a piece that I don't know, is planning interested in doing something with that? If they are, I'd like to know that. I'd like to find out if they are interested in doing something with that corridor, because I think that it would be of great assistance to the community and to the region. So that's my question, and if there's anything I can do to assist, I would be happy to do so.
We'll take it into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think this is a beautiful opportunity.
Okay. Go ahead.
If you look at the agenda items, item 1 is the comprehensive plan update. And the comprehensive plan is aiming to solve a lot of the bigger picture items that you're questioning. The public is going to have a series of focus groups that will start diving into this. You're a business owner in town. If you saw on the agenda, there was a business focus group meeting coming up where we're going to try to get the heads of all the business community together and start diving into these issues. So it is active, it is agenda items, it's just the timing of it is very unique. The borough was fortunate enough to retain professional planners that have a unique staff with unique abilities to potentially solve these issues. The Planning Commission isn't going to solve all the issues. The issue is getting the planners to the table, which we are, and there's a process that's being flushed out. And those issues will be coming up with public input at the focus group meetings. And the first focus group is scheduled, like you see on the agenda, for Thursday, March 2nd. We'll have more issues on. We'll be delivering letters to all the businesses coming up, inviting them to that focus group. And then we're going to keep going through these focus group issues as it's built into their scope. Cool. And lastly, the borough newsletter that just went out with garbage bills, it's on the counter there, I encourage you to pick up. On the back is an update on the comprehensive plan, and it says where the comprehensive plan is now, where we developed action steps. We're now at this process of basically chewing apart the action steps to see what action steps become chapters of the comprehensive plan, which in turn are you gonna solve like the painter's run that concept. These issues will be flushed out, and the ones that are flushed out become the chapters of the plan, which are the issues that we may not agree on, but those are the issues, the big ones that will be on the table for 10 years.
Right,
And that's the community's plan that comes from the focus groups.
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get two things real quick, because I don't wanna make too much back and forth. That's the community's plan that's on the focus group, so just think about that, given what happened before, okay?
I think you read me wrong.
No, I know, I understand the way the comprehensive plan works. I respect it. As I indicated 2 years ago, be careful about comprehensive plans, because they sometimes end up taking a 2-year break from actually moving forward on things. That's the nature of the way a comprehensive plan works. It occupies the community's focus and effort. Understood. Not trying to push against that entirely, but I'm also not, hey, we're doing this in the comprehensive plan. I'm trying in this discussion to get the planning commission to focus on some of the things that need to be done so that it doesn't take another 20 years, 10 years, because that's what can happen.
If you can provide us with funding, unending funding, we would love to
Sure.
just be able to just get all these things done, all these little,
Happy to. Which project would you like funding for?
Excuse me, North End.
Excuse me.
No, wait a
There's-
minute, wait.
You're talking about funding, I'll tell you how to get funding
Well,
later.
Pat said he was gonna give us funding. so
No,
I'm
okay.
like,
That's exactly where I thought you were going.
Hush. We talked within the group this evening, there are certain items on the table right now that we have asked them to look at. We will listen to what they have to say and take it from there, all right? Whether or not it is traffic on Baldwin Street or traffic on Bower Hill or traffic on Washington Avenue, okay? Those things will be looked at by a third set of eyes that are much more knowledgeable about the situation than any of us are, all right? To determine which route would be the most feasible area or way to go, all right? So, I don't know what else you want us to do. You want us to go and do a $15,000 traffic study on widening Bower Hill Road, correct? To a 4-lane.
15,000 concept on Bower Hill Road to Painter's Run to the Port Authority bus garage.
Correct.
Yeah, I thought that, I did put that on the table. Yes, I stand behind that.
Okay,
I think that would
all right.
make a lot of sense.
Okay, so now whether or not that's an idea that the engineers will come up with, we'll take a look at it,
Okay.
okay?
I understand.
So,
Just trying to push it forward.
yeah, that's fine.
So,
My turn.
And anything else? Anybody else?
That was it.
Questions, comments? Okay. All right, Bob.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've spent the last 40 years and 1,000 hours of time consulting with the professors at 3 of the top major universities in this country about city planning. I've spent countless hours with the former fellow George Beckman, who designed the present comprehensive plan, plus with Richard Drenovich, who was the head of the Allegheny County Redevelopment Authority. I know more than anybody in this room about how to make the life better for the people in Bridgeville. Let me finish, okay? I sent you guys 5 letters asking you to put me on the planning commission so I could help. I've spent $100,000 setting up ambulance services in this area that saved 20 people a year from dying because of an incompetent ambulance service that existed in this area because it was run by privately owned companies and the fire departments, all right? When I asked you, I wanted to give you some of my ideas. I wanted to show you that it wasn't Bower Hill Road Bridge, for example, that was causing the flooding. It was the culvert on Commercial Street. And I guess you disregarded that until the University of Pittsburgh kids did the same study and told you the same thing. I was the guy that waded into the creeks in this town and measured all of the openings, just like the kids from the University of Pittsburgh did. My point was, you telling me and the public and de Blasio that you're going to have public meetings where 50 of us can stand up and talk for 5 minutes, contributing to you guys making the better judgments, that's bullcrap. I was going to say, I've begged you to allow me to at least be part of your, the steering community you have, you know, and like, I get nowhere. The decisions that you've made regarding me and my attempt to help the public at no cost.
Get elected. Oh, wait.
It doesn't matter whether I'm elected or whether I live in a different community. My concern for the people in this town trying to improve the quality of their lives is unquestionable. Excuse me, one other thing, Cal, what I wanted to mention to you, you talked about funding. I've talked to Joe about, if you want to get funding for this comprehensive plan, well, I think Joe sent you copies of this drawing. I was going to discuss it again with you tonight. The way you get funding, by the way, is any piece of property in Allegheny County that you build a road past that will have 80,000 or 40,000 consumer motorists a day, that's actually 60,000 people with money in their pockets. Any piece of road that you can improve traffic flow that much, the retail people will line up in rows trying to get that money. What Bridgeville has, we were here before Upper St. Clair and Collier and South Fayette. All 8 roads, if you haven't taken a look at the map, lead here. And there are 4 lanes coming in to our perimeter, and they turn to 2 lanes when they get to Bridgeville. That's why the traffic's backed up 1 and 2 miles in 3 different directions from the town. If you want to get tens of millions, by the way, for building the roads you get together with the officials in Collier and South Fayette and tell them you want that plan. That plan is better than anything that South Fayette's designed for you. And once you get the agreement of those officials, the people that are going to get you the money are the people that own those 2 shopping centers and these 2 shopping centers in South Fayette, because they're the ones that provide the money to the elected officials that control the funds on the state level, the county level, and I guess the federal level too, okay? That's how you do it. Do not make the mistake, for example, of building a pedestrian bridge over the railroad tracks. Do not make the mistake of just putting another lane on the north end of Bower Hill Road in Bridgeville. You've got to get all 3 communities together, do this plan, and if you take a careful look at the refinements, it's greatly improved and than the one that PennDOT or Allegheny County gave you. And incidentally, someone mentioned to me what I sent you guys the other day, that study of all the things that the county and the state have done to prevent this corridor, Washington Pike corridor, from competing with the Route 19 business district. They're factual. They're in the newspaper. They're everywhere, and they're irrefutable. At any rate, I want to compliment, and I think I've told you this before, Justine, the parking authority, the planning commission, compared to the council, you do encourage two-way discussions at your meetings more than council does. That's been that way for decades, and I've complimented you on that. So you're moving in the right direction. But to think that the public hearings, Joe, that you're setting, where people come in, and each 10, 20 people can talk for 5 minutes, that's not enough. You need a full, comprehensive discussion of each issue.
Okay, all right,
All right?
thank you, Bob. Yes,
As a member of the planning commission, I'm a former member,
yeah,
I hated coming to meetings where there was dialogue back and forth. I thought it was a waste of my time.
all right,
There's an agenda. That's me as a former planning commission member.
okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
All right, so now, moving on, adoption of minutes for the December 5th meeting. Any changes, comments, corrections in regards to the minutes for that particular meeting? Good? Anything good?
I wasn't here.
No, okay.
I move to accept the minutes.
I need a second. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Okay, the motion passes. Now we move on to the new business, which is the annual reorganization of the planning committee. I need a call for nominees for the chairperson's position.
Are you interested in still doing it?
Is that a nomination?
If you were still doing it, I'll nominate you. If you, I mean, unless you don't want to. I'm just saying, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Any comments, changes, corrections?
Other nominations?
Other nominations, thank you. Okay, and I accept. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay,
Very good, Justin.
all right, thank you.
Really good.
All right, so I need a call for nominees for the vice chair.
I didn't know we had one.
Vice chair nominees should,
Isn't that right?
vice chair nomination
Right
of
there.
Dale,
How about Mike?
Mike,
I nominate Mike the
Oh, yeah,
vice chair.
that's a good idea, I second that.
Yeah, Mike, you're the guy.
Sure.
okay, you accept?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor of nominating Mike for the position of vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No? Okay, motion passes. All right, let's see. Also for secretary. I need a nomination for the secretary's position. Any?
Who does that now?
Huh?
Dale is,
I nominate Dale.
Dale? Anybody else?
Anybody else want to throw their hat in the ring?
I accept.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Okay.
You're gonna have to do all the paperwork now.
All right, so Dale is.
keep dropping it, Joe.
Got it. All right, so that's old business. That's no new business. Let's talk about the old business, okay? So the general update to the public regarding comprehensive plan. The planning commission just met earlier this evening with the steering committee and Mackin Engineering, and we're moving into the next phase of development of the comprehensive plan. To date, the priority topics so far are parking and wayfinding, traffic, downtown and business development, flooding, and quality of life issues. Those are general topics that we will discuss. No,
What does that mean? Parking and what else?
Signage.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so those are the things that even last year when we talked about what was a priority for Bridgeville, in the past, in the 2021 Comprehensive Planning Commission, we talked about what were the 5 topics of interest, and those were, at that point, also the top 5. These topics have been identified through previous meetings as well as public input, which was this year and surveys. All right, so that is, the other thing is that the next focus group for business development, or the next focus group will be for the business development downtown group, and it will be March 2nd at about 5:30. Any
Location to be determined.
location to be determined.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Justine.
Yes.
Say again.
March 2nd at 5:30.
Is this something we already have?
Yeah, we
Yep.
talked
No,
we talked about it last, about the business plan, business owners meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Now, next item is the active transportation plan. Everybody saw the implementation plan, quarterly implementation plan. All right, any questions, comments, changes, suggestions, next steps?
I can give an update on where we
Please.
are. There was a number of the aspects of the plan that's been pushed towards implementation by Borough Council over the last 6 months since it's been adopted. Just to quickly summarize, there was a recommendation for bump outs to be installed on Bank Street. Borough Council accepted a partnership with PennDOT in 2024, so next year, when they come back after the resurfacing this year to upgrade the ADA ramps on Bank Street, bump outs will be constructed at 2 intersections at Winfield and Gregg. So that aspect of the active transportation plan is in process. Another recommendation of the plan is the reconstruction of Gregg Avenue steps. We got a fairly implementable concept plan, developed a budget, and we submitted 2 grant applications. One grant application went seeking county gaming funds. That wasn't awarded. We'll just keep reapplying. I feel confident that it's gonna take me a couple rounds. It's like one round to get action, but we'll keep going. And then I submitted the same application to the state for multimodal transportation funding, and that grant application is pending. So that project's in the pipeline. We know in the project also called for the construction of the sidewalk on Chartier Street. That project is advancing for 2024, 2025 in partnership with PennDOT. There was a couple other little things in the plan. I think that's a quick summary of where we are. I think there was some low-hanging fruit in there that I wouldn't mind, getting a second set of eyes on, to say, hey, maybe it's time that, it'd be nice to get a letter from the Planning Commission to the Borough Council saying, hey, the plan calls for additional street lighting on Shady Avenue and Sarah Street. And I checked them out at night a couple of weeks ago, and it makes sense. It'd be nice to.
Looks like we talked about the parking lot behind the Blaze,
Yeah.
Their building. It's not well lit from the parking lot to the main street.
Correct.
And that makes sense, it should be.
Yeah, so
If
like,
you park there, it should be.
So it'd be nice if maybe just we can put a letter together from Planning Commission to Council saying, hey, we met on the 23rd of January, we're meeting every quarter as a standing agenda item to keep the plan on track over the next 10 years or so. And this quarter, we discussed street lighting, and we feel it needs to be implemented as it called out in the plan. And we've also said that location, which what Mike said, should be included.
Okay.
And then there were some other little concepts that got traction, but they haven't got off the ground. We did talk about that there's interest in doing a multi-municipal project for the roundabout at the St. Clair border. Just banter right now, but it seems like there is traction there. I know that they've been reaching out to PennDOT to do something.
So when the state repays Bank Street, how far up is that going to go? Will that end at the Bridgeville, St. Clair line?
That may be,
So it's the whole street, it's all bank.
but not Dewey, so just from Dewey up. It's not gonna loop around like, the
Oh.
state road is the Station Street.
Yeah, I got you, I know what you're saying.
Okay.
That's right.
So concrete section,
Yeah.
and they have a contract awarded, Melee,
You're gonna get flowers from Frank Exler.
I think so. Yeah, but they already have a contract, last year's grouping, so it isn't like a myth that it's gonna be done. It was to be done last year,
Right.
but the grouping pushed it, and it probably was for the best because the town could have took another detour.
So if we wanted to expedite that roundabout, how can that happen? I mean, does that, with them repaving?
You
and-
know,
okay.
that's a substantial
I know.
thing where we're gonna have to, similar to the McLaughlin roundabout, those
Right.
were
And-
budget items in the state budget. So we're
Okay.
gonna have to advocate with our legislators to do it. That's all it's
Okay.
gonna be.
All right,
If it's not us doing it, and if it's not us doing it, which probably isn't so,
Right.
that's the way to do it.
okay. All right,
But that's my rundown on the active transportation plan. I knew Dale did a really nice worksheet on it. And what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, all I did was just take the thing and just put it in some sort of order that was, I thought was much more usable. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's still plenty of stuff out there that's low hanging and long range, so,
Yeah.
we'll just keep chipping away at it.
Yeah, I think maybe so when we come back on this would be April, so we do it,
Right.
start of each quarter. So on April, maybe it's smart that we come with, hey, items are 1, 2, and 3 of this plan.
right,
One, can you do them this year? Because like some of them are cheap and easy, like those trees. Like, it called for like Ornamental Street, like Bolton Street. That's a substantial capital project that isn't gonna be done until it's like put in a budget, go for a grant, you know? But like, one that like I found interesting where I would love to know where you guys sit on it, and it would be good to know from a recommendation from you guys to council, is there was a very nice, like traffic calming plan for Washington Avenue at Hickman Street that basically showed that painted yellow island being replaced with a landscaped island. And like I see, there's pros and cons to that. And that would be, if I had to start another, take from this plan, 2 projects that I feel that are ready to go to like a grant application. It's that, like if there's interest to do it, and that would be something like you guys need to flush out. And then there was another recommendation that we should try to find money to put a plan together to make that formal Shropshire's Greenway, as it's called, that basically bridges, the easy stuff I feel is connected up through Winfield Pines. But it really called for like doing an extensive study that would bring it into downtown Bridgeville, down Hickman, along the old railroad spur, that would connect as a pedestrian route Bridgeville to Newberry. And like it called trying to find like grant money to do that. And is there interest to do that? To me, it's like a no-brainer. So,
right,
yeah, it's something
right.
I
And the
think-
thing of it is that if we're doing signage for the comp plan, that's, I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
So, but like, so maybe I would ask you, to like,
Okay.
look over that list that Dale put together and come for the April meeting. What item do we want to start advancing? Now, like how Dale started tonight, you're spot on, it's like, we're a small municipality with limited funds, and some of these projects are gonna take a couple years of throwing at the wall until it sticks. And like Warner Avenue is a prime example of that. And I've been priming the well for our council, that the Greg Avenue steps are gonna be, I feel like, Warner Avenue 2.0. I'm gonna have to throw mud at the wall a couple times before it sticks. So, but at least we'll get people out talking about it, people knowing the issue, and after so much of people talking about it, you know, at the decision maker, then hopefully we'll get funding, and that's where we had success.
Did you ever find out about what the state would allow in regards to painting the crosswalks?
Oh, no, they would be ample, they would be allowed to that using a certain spec. So,
Okay.
they gave me contact
Spec for
information,
the paint.
for the design,
It's,
and this paint, but especially the
We
design.
can't get artsy fartsy then? Is that what you're
Not on
saying?
a state road, no. But you can get,
Just checking.
you can get unique so that it has an ornamental character.
Right,
That
right.
does do
But
traffic
you can-
calming, and, you know, goes with the aesthetics.
Okay.
There is a design. So with that, they recommended I contact Pittsburgh Parking Lot Painting. I think it's in Coventry. They're the only ones really in the area that do, I think it's called thermoplastic, where you burn it down.
Yeah.
and that's what that is. So I reached out to them in October, and they've just been so busy, they really haven't got back to me. But
Right.
I sent them certain intersections. I sent them GIS mapping of
Okay.
Hickman to Bower Hill, saying, can you give me a quote for this? I sent it to them back at budget time, hoping that I would have a number back, I could put it in the '23 budget, and I just haven't had anything. And I know they were really busy because the line painting in Sharkey Park was done by them, and they didn't come back and finish stuff that we had to have another painting company come and do. So
Okay,
they kind of got the market cornered in Western Pennsylvania.
okay.
But it's definitely on my stack on my
Okay.
desk that it won't be forgotten about, and I can go back and ask for a revised, or, hey, can you at least give me a quote, not even a revised,
Yeah.
can you give me a quote? Because
Right.
I did talk to a woman, I have the spec from PennDOT, we have all.
Okay.
And it is something that I think where everyone's thinking, you know, something that looks better than piano keys, you know, it's.
Right, and I mean, you know, the thing is that I'm guessing that we need to better understand the logistics of it too. I mean, how is it affected by salt, or how is it affected by,
The thermoplastic stuff that they heat and put on actually stands up very well.
okay,
They use it in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
I've seen it used, and it stands up, you know, a lot better than just regular street paint.
okay,
I could share with you this week what I have received from PennDOT, so you have it, and then
Okay.
we'll keep it
All
on
right.
the radar. I can put it on the action list as well.
okay. All right, zoning amendment recommendation, what was,
For the apartments. or for-
I don't know, all I see is this second line item here on the planning commission, the flow chart.
Wasn't that what jumped together? The list
Oh,
of
okay, all right. Okay.
quarterly.
I can explain, so we're going down the flow chart now. So we're done with item 2, active transportation. But go to the flow chart. This zoning amendment, the flow chart came out of the last planning commission meeting. Basically, we wanted to make sure we had just a chart together so that stuff didn't just fade into
Right.
the sunset here. This came before planning commission a while back saying, do you want to put a regulation, amendment to the zoning ordinance that would regulate where parking pads go in residential and
Okay.
2 districts? The way it got delivered back to me was that have the solicitor put us ordinance together and then we'll figure it out. And my response back to you was that the way that this needs to work is, do you think there should be an amendment to the zoning ordinance that would regulate parking? And that would be your
Okay,
send up to Borough Council, and Borough Council can say, yeah, we like that idea, or no.
Okay.
Because we don't want to spend legal money just putting ordinances together. I think it's come down to like, think big picture. Do you like the idea? If you like the idea, send it up to Borough Council via recommendation
Okay.
letter. The back and forth stuff is for council members.
okay. All right,
So like, that would be something that can stay on the chart.
I think that we need to get that off the chart and addressed. So we'll put that on the agenda for next month.
You know, it's a matter of pulling out the stuff that Joe put together already and looking at that,
Yeah.
looking at
Okay.
parcels.
All right,
And it could be something simple, like, for example, like if it came down to the recommendation, I remember Mr. Fulmer said, maybe it's, there should be a recommendation that these are regulated, but it's regulated off of the size of a curb cut.
correct.
The planning commission makes a recommendation that the zoning ordinance be amended so that there is regulations in place for accessory structures such as parking pads. However, they are determined on the length of the curb cut, not just carte blanche.
Yeah,
Can't have.
yeah, okay,
And that's how I think that's going to
okay,
be a very nice way to make it.
okay, good.
It's fine as long as there's a curb to cut. I mean, there's a number of places that,
Don't have rights.
that have pads now,
Mhm.
that didn't have any how do we, I mean, that's something we need to think about,
Sure.
take into consideration.
Since we discussed this the last time, do you have any idea how many you've approved?
Just a handful at that time.
Okay.
I think what brought her up was there was that one, and then that one led.
Right.
Hey, what about that one, and then that one.
Right.
I'd say at the time, I think I gave you a list or something, 5, it wasn't many,
Okay,
but they were all like simultaneous, so they all hit at the same time.
okay,
Raise the course.
all right. Okay. Community cleanup day. Are we gonna spearhead that? How can we get a group for community cleanup day?
When you say we get a group, you mean?
I don't know, how can we, within Bridgeville, get a group of people to do cleanup, Bridgeville Day?
Okay, I guess I hate to be stupid, but we did this last year, yeah? The
Yeah,
cleanup thing? And I know Guy and I did, and
Yeah,
we decided
a
we
handful
were
of
gonna
people
clean up
did,
was
yeah.
the hill behind our house
Oh,
and the
oh.
lots, the
Yeah.
vacant lots down on Baldwin Street. So we just did that because that selfishly, that it
Yeah.
hurts us, and it's right there. So, I mean, we certainly would be glad to do that again, but I'm hoping that there's not nearly as much crap there, because I'm pretty sure that was a decade or two of crap that we pulled out of there, pretty sure.
Approach the kids in the high school.
Say again,
Approach the kids in the high school.
okay?
Do the kids still have to do social?
Nope.
No,
What about, like, the Boy Scouts, they have to do stuff?
That's another good idea. Right.
what's that?
Girl Scouts.
All right,
I mean, not like, I'm happy to do something. If we as a, in fact, we should probably do something, because we should set a precedent, set the bar, set an example.
yeah.
So, if somebody has a place that they can think of off the top of their head, or if they wanna, maybe we could all think about that and email back to each other, or email to Joe, like whichever is easier.
Well, Earth Day is Saturday, April 22nd.
Okay.
Saturday. What about, where the new steps are supposed to go in?
We're gonna tie each other to the light post.
I don't mean to be, I don't mean to be smart ass, but I walk up and down there all the time.
So do I.
So it's not, you're not taking your gonads into your hand or your life, either one. Neither of those things are going into the process of going up and down that hill. You're just saying.
Let's throw community garden development and Baldwin Street flood lot reuse together, all right? Because I'm thinking that both of those, there are ideas that we can at least start trying to flesh out a little bit, like community gardens. Is there grant money that we can apply for flower seeds? Can we get,
Well, isn't a community garden kind of more focused on everybody that gets involved in it brings
Well,
seeds,
that-
fertilizer, stuff like that? It's
see,
like
the thing is that it's my understanding, you do community gardens, and Penn State actually has a division that will come out and teach people how to build the raised garden beds.
Okay.
There's also Grow Pittsburgh.
That's right, and grow Pittsburgh. So, I mean, we can start actively involving ourselves in that, trying to get some information, because I'd also like to see whether or not we couldn't start working with Tree Pittsburgh in regards to reforesting that lot, that one big lot there that has the hillside, but almost behind you, okay? So now, if we do something like that, do we have to send a letter to council then requesting permission?
Sure, they own the properties, yes.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay.
Somebody call, I can call Grow Pittsburgh to see if.
Yeah,
just
and I'll call-
Find out what they need to.
Yeah, I think with these things, it'd be nice that, like, we only have our staff is,
Yes.
yeah, and it's like, need someone else
Right.
to take these.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
if you wanna have a cleanup day, we'll
Yeah.
be there, but like, someone's gotta step up.
Yeah,
Right,
okay,
exactly.
And so,
okay,
like, even with these, like, the gardens, like,
Yeah.
hey, we'll help you, we'll get everything you need, but, like,
okay,
if you can walk out here saying, all right, this is gonna be my project.
Right.
You know, you'll have our full support, but like, you
Okay.
can't expect me to do it for you.
okay.
Well, from my personal perspective, I think the benefit that the borough has is helping to publicize it through
Yeah, we'll do anything for
the
you.
newsletters and
I just need
other
someone
outlets that you
to
have.
take the ball.
I got you.
Okay.
I'll call Grove Pittsburgh,
Oh,
just ask
that'd
them
be more
what the deal
important
is,
than
you know,
you pulling
Yes.
weeds.
hey, we have these empty lots, what we gotta do to get the ball rolling?
I have Tree Pittsburgh's, the project manager. I'll email
They got a
him.
new girl too there.
Um,
I know the one girl that we talked to, she's gone, but I think the one guy's still.
Are you an earthy person? You wanna take Earth Day?
I would also be willing to contact the Environmental Defense Fund, has a lot of things that you can get as just a
Right.
homeowner that are things that are supposed to attract butterflies specifically, for example.
Okay.
My daughter used to be really a big proponent and donor to
Okay.
that organization, so let me get that information.
All right, so maybe what we can all do is sort of think about what it is individually, what we can do, what we want to do, write a little synopsis or bullet points or something like that, and then provide that information to Joe as to who's going to do what, when. Okay? Agreed?
We
Okay?
were talking about like, do we need to pick the lots that we are talking about involved with, or are we talking about doing something with all of them?
No, some of the lots. Okay? So, I think that like the parking lot behind, if we're gonna think about a parking lot behind, the rail yard, then that's gonna be more involved, much more involved. It doesn't mean that we can't talk about it this year, it's just gonna be, that it's gonna be something on the agenda down the road. Okay. All right, anything else?
For next month, we're not gonna have the steering committee meeting next month before this, right?
We didn't get that
But it doesn't look like it, because we're having,
I don't think so, because you're gonna have this focus group. That's my question to this, is that, our next meeting is Monday, the 27th. The focus group is scheduled for Thursday, the 2nd, the same week.
right,
Do you wanna just keep having both at the same week, or do you wanna cancel one of these meetings? Or, that's what, just so you know. Just make sure you're aware that they're both the same week. I think it's expected that we're at the focus group,
Right.
yeah.
so that,
But I'm saying, we are gonna have a plan, I thought we were just gonna have the planning commission meeting on a regular day, and then,
yes,
And then
that's
just-
how it's advertised.
yeah, and then we'll just be at the
Correct.
steering
And then-
The
thing,
steering committee meeting's when?
Thursday.
The
That's-
26th.
And Randy was saying that potentially we won't have the steering committee
Right.
next month because we're just gonna be
Yeah.
doing the business focus group.
So I'm just saying, so next month for this meeting, on the agenda, I know, Joe, you wanted to talk about zoning for like apartments and rental units,
Such as, how would that,
like what's the, you talked about looking at the different rental, like the,
Airbnbs or?
no,
a rental operating license program?
like
Making sure they're up to code.
up to code, make sure, so we don't have, people putting in apartments and they're just not to code, and they're just basically slumlords.
So basically discuss the need for a rental inspection program, and then if there's a desire here, make a recommendation to the council. So that you want that in the agenda item next month.
Yeah, we talked about doing that, we talked about it several months ago, we said we were gonna do it, we were gonna look at it in more detail in 2023.
All right. Okay, anything else?
Okay, I need some help, back me up. What meeting were we just talking about a few minutes ago?
The steering committee, the business focus group is the 26th.
27.
I was gonna say, I looked at the 26th and I'm thinking on a Sunday,
27th.
really? Thank you.
of March. I mean, no, wait.
It's at the bottom of the
No,
agenda.
Sorry.
Thank
March 2nd.
Bottom of the agenda.
You already have it in there.
you. I'm down here, trying to
No,
pencil.
February 27th is our conference, is this meeting, February 27th,
And that's here,
here, regular meeting.
I mean, the one on Thursday the 2nd is here.
No, we don't know where that's
We
gonna
don't
be
know
yet,
that.
we're figuring that out. It's
And
to
that will
be determined.
actively promoted, so we'll make sure everybody knows.
Yes.
And we'll confirm that there's no steering committee next month, but I'm fairly confident that that was the intention.
And you're going to, when we promote the business focus group, are you gonna put it on the?
We'll put it everywhere. Website,
make sure
Facebook,
it's-
sign up
It's
front.
identified for
When's the Super
business.
Bowl? We advertise at the Super Bowl.
We could do that.
It's only 2 million a minute.
There you go. Very, very specific.
But we'll make sure the word is out.
Yeah.
And that's like another one, like if you had a look, like that, it's gonna be better because it's targeted focus to businesses. We're gonna make sure the businesses have that letter explaining it ahead of time. If we add a business, it's inside, okay? Like the October event was outside. Like, I don't think anyone could not, they did not know. If they did not know in October, you just didn't care to even try. Because it was on every telephone pole.
Right.
They had one in front of my house.
I know.
There
It was one in front of my house too.
Yeah, so it's like every telephone pole in town had it, it's like, I don't know how much more you could do.
Yeah, you could, yeah. And you're gonna get somebody, well, you should have sent out a Morse code.
Yeah.
I'm still on my ham radio. Yeah.
The only thing more you could have done was to make it longer.
Exactly, as I said, it was the weather. I think that had a
Oh,
lot
I
to do
think
with it.
that's 100% in my
Right.
But
personal.
there was like, well, it could have been yesterday. Yesterday was so much warmer. And then it also could have been the day after when it was like freezing and snow. So you got lucky.
We did.
All right.
All right, go ahead, no, hold on for a second. The one thing I would like to say is I would like to thank Melissa for agreeing to do another 4 years of planning commission.
Good job.
So. All right, okay, Bob, you have 3 minutes.
I need 4 minutes. I wanted to ask you guys some things. I don't understand a lot of the things Joe was describing to you, but in terms of improving the image of the community, is the plan still intact, if it ever existed, to install 12 more of the traditional Washington Avenue streetlights from the post office down to the New Bridge, and also the Mike's wife's an expert in tree access. That would also be a perfect way to plant trees, not in the sidewalks, but on the private property on both sides, and illuminate them at night. You do those 2 things, you'll have the best looking section of the front street in the region. I don't know if there is a plan in place for that, Mike.
I mean,
Well, look into.
we weren't looking at, we weren't looking at trees on that, and we were looking at trees in the existing planters that we have on where we did the streetscape. And that's where we wanted to put the trees, because there's planters already there.
A couple of years ago, I remember I got permission from the post office and the church and the drugstore to allow you to plant trees on their property, and also an electrical light, not one of those expensive
Right.
ones where you bury it, costs
Right.
$400, but just an electrical outlet
Right.
with an uplight, and you can move that. As the tree grows, you can
Move
very
it
easily move that. But anyway, I'd like to look into that. And the other thing I was gonna mention, the Bower Hill Road Bridge, which when there was no debris catcher, everybody thought that was the problem. But I wanted to ask you something. Is there a way, Joe, that you could ask the county to see if they could just eliminate the center divider? But that would require longer beams, and usually when you make a beam longer, I don't know if those beams inch of steel or concrete, you have to increase the height. In doing that, there's a danger of reducing the amount of water, flood water that could flow under. But it might be another inexpensive way to propose to the county to see, if that's possible.
You put the Fire Hill Road Bridge?
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, the wire road, but
That is what they're doing.
Oh,
They were
okay.
doing the center pier.
They're getting ready, they're putting a new bridge in.
they're supposed to put a new bridge in, but hopefully you build that ramp down to Baldwin Street. That's only an 8-foot elevation difference. And that would be that'd be great for Baldwin Street. And there's something else I want to ask you. But I didn't write it down. Oh, yeah, once again, please, I don't mean to be using boring terms repetitively, but you guys have to think of yourselves as shopping center owners. It's that simple. Increase the number of cars going through your business districts and make sure you extend Washington Pike 4 lanes through Bridgeville, Bower Hill Road 4 lanes functionally intersected, and you'll double the number of present consumer motorists per day and do it in half the time. There
Okay.
won't be a traffic congestion.
All right,
Okay,
thank
thanks.
you, Bob.
Thanks, and congratulations on all the new officials.
Thank you.
And new old.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, I need a motion to
Make a
adjourn.
motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All right. And all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, motion passes. The meeting is ended.